Hello, everyone. Welcome back to issue number 11 with Beyond the Cowl.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back for another issue. Your little getaway from reality, I guess you'd say, because in all reality, comic books in this hobby are just a little mental break and maybe something you need at this point in time right now. Who knows?
Yeah, especially, hey, I'll tell you this, comic books have been one of the greatest pleasures I got to reintroduce and re-indulge in during COVID.
Like I said, it's always like a nice mental break to get away from things, read a story, something that inspires you, or something that you can relate to, and like I said, take a little mental break from reality, man, and just get away for a little bit. Because in the grand scheme of things, obviously this a hobby is just a hobby. It's not super important, but it does provide a little mental escape. So yeah,
So, what new things in the comic book world have you seen this week that you're super interested in sharing? I know you got a bunch of news you want to get into.
yeah. So just right off the bat, just kind of follow along. We have original art selling for $250,000 that we were going to discuss. Then we have new series being announced out of Future State that we want to discuss. A couple first new characters that are going to be appearing in DC books coming up. So without further ado, let me share my screen so we get into the first article, which is going to be, if you haven't heard, um, let's see, give me 1 second. All right, is it up?
Hang on, let me get it all turned on. Whoops.
So just as a reference, this is the original cover art for Ultimate Fallout #4, which is the first appearance of Miles Morales. And for those of you who don't know who Miles Morales is, he's the new Spider-Man, they which if you haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse, it's one of Marvel's kind of comparative animated movies come out to DC. In regards to doing as well as it did. So Into the Spider-Verse grossed 190.2 million in the United States and Canada, and 185.3 million in other territories. So it was obviously a well-received movie. It had like a 97% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty surprising for a Marvel animated. So um, Getting back to the article right here by Bleeding Cool, the original Mark Bagley Miles Morales Spider-Man artwork to the cover of Ultimate Fallout 4, which purchased this week in a private transaction for $225,000 by an anonymous buyer. So, and you can look at the cover right there. You obviously see Miles Morales on the cover with Iron Man and Thor and Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of like a modern day monster if you're comparing it to something like The Walking Dead issue #1. This has kind of taken over and has been kind of a book that's been going up in value ever since the release. In the cover, you see the first appearance, obviously, of Miles Morales Spider-Man, created by Brian Michael Bendis, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well, again, and Sarah Pacelli in 2011. So this is a relatively newer book, 2011. A copy of the comic with this cover, Ultimate Fallout #4, recently sold on eBay for $2,000. So if you look at that, the comic book alone is selling for $2,000, not even including the art. The art, like I just said, is $250,000. Anonymous buyer.
Wow. So in recent,
Yeah,
wait,
that's kind of crazy because
and the copy of
go
this
ahead.
comic was sold on eBay for 2 grand. So the actual book itself is selling for 2 grand.
2 grand just came out in 2011, which is relatively new compared to how long the industry's been around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean,
Because like
just
I'm trying to remember
if you
what
think about it,
you remember what year Miles
uh,
Morales was actually like making his debut as like for a solo comic. I want to say it was like around 2010, 2011, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know um like I said, the character is relatively new, and this cover is actually by an artist named Mark Bagley. So this is Mark Bagley piece of art. If you don't know, he's created other characters, like notable characters like Carnage and Sentry, among a plethora of other characters. So um if you follow Spider-Man all, you know this cover, you know what this cover is, obviously. Like I said, the if you were in a generation now where the younger kids, they're growing up to watching this movie, this is going to be their Spider-Man. So
Hmm.
all I see is this book continuing and this art to continuing to go up in value. So and I think they hinted a little bit. The buyer is rumored to be a known entertainment figure and notable art collector. The sale is the highest price ever paid for American superhero comic book art published in the 21st century.
I looked it up right now. Ultimate Fallout number 4 is his first appearance. So that's probably why the book's going for two
Right.
grand. And I mean, we were just talking about this offline like couple days, like a week ago, about how just like the market right now with like comic selling, trading, and like just first appearance of younger Marvel characters and DC characters that are like super booming right now are like doubling in price. I mean, like we were talking about how I've been wanting to get Batman Beyond issue 1. That within the last 2 weeks has doubled in price because now we're getting information that they're going to be might be making a movie or a show on HBO Max. Miles Morales, there might be Into the Spider-Verse 2. Plus, with his game, his character is starting to become popular and starting to become relevant. And so now we're starting to see pieces of art and books that are showing his first appearance starting to go huge in value in the market.
Yeah, and like I mentioned to you before, original art is something that's a lot of artists seem to be moving towards digital. So original art is a one of one piece. You know, they don't they make this is the source material for where the action figures come from, the movie, the media, the marketing, all this stuff is generated from the books. And if you really think about it, this is a one of one piece. There's no other piece like it in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I like it's you I mean, I guess you can put a price on it, but I think it's just moving forward in the next 10 years, you're gonna see that price double. In my honest opinion, I think that's what it's gonna do.
What outlet was this
So
piece of art sold through?
I'm not sure. Usually, when you see something that high, it's usually like through auction houses,
Auction,
like
right? Yeah.
reputable auction houses, like Heritage and stuff like that. Doesn't say here. I think it's a private sale. It said
Okay. Private
private transaction.
transaction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so private transaction.
God, for $250,000. Like, I can't even picture having that much money in my account, let alone spending that much on original art. I'm over here starting to dive into the world of original art and seeing a $1,500 piece and thinking, okay, yeah, I can probably afford that with like maybe like within 2 months of saving, let alone spending $250,000.
So you have to think like whoever's putting that money out there, they're obviously a smart person because you have in order to have even have that much money, you have to have done pretty well in your lifetime to be able to afford this. So if you're putting your money into art like this, I think people should pay attention because it's not stupid people that are just buying art that have, money that
Money.
they don't know what to do
Mm-hmm.
with. It's Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was something that was warranted that we talk about. So I thought it was interesting and important to note. And
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
definitely.
just crazy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like
So
that. That's crazy because like what do we got? We had the flakes of detective of Action Comics. We had Batman issue 1 sold for a huge amount this year. Now we're getting this original art. It's like we're seeing these like incredible sales in our lifetime of like and that's the thing, right? It's so like you get this kind of cover and like I think we were talking about that for Detective Comics with the first appearance of Batman. Once someone buys something like this, it puts a price. It actually puts value to like the character. So like first appearance Miles Morales comic books are now going to probably increase because the cover itself was sold. So now we're seeing that like Miles Morales as a character is already starting to have his own market value as a character.
yeah, well, I think we've seen that really explode with the announcement of the animated movie,
Hmm.
and then it did so well. Like I said, I mean, you got to look what it's done in the theaters, and I think it's won best animated feature film at the Golden Globes, and the same award at the Critics' Choice Award
Yeah.
and the Academy Awards. And I mean, it's just done so well, and it's first non-Disney or Pixar film to win an Oscar for best animated feature since Rango.
Yeah, shout out to Jake Johnson for playing Peter Parker in Into the Spider-Verse. Actually, it's funny. I watched Into the Spider-Verse solely to watch his performance as Peter Parker. Miles Morales, I really digged and I like his character, but I went there just to watch Jake Johnson do voice acting, and here we are now.
Yeah. So little time and much has changed, right?
Oh, exactly. Like this movie came out like what, like 2 years ago, I think.
It came out.
I'm looking up right now. I think it
I
did.
think no, I think it did come out 2 years ago. I don't know off the top of my head.
2018.
Um,
Yeah, so almost 3 years ago. God, time is flying.
3 years ago. I know. Um, getting back to first appearances, we have. If you haven't, read James Tynion's newsletter or signed up for his newsletter, I would recommend that you all do that because he drops a lot of little breadcrumbs for collectors and speculators out there ahead of solicitations and released news leaks. So um, I don't know. It just he has done a lot with the Batman universe, and he's going to continue his run on Batman. So
Hmm.
you kind of see him create his own little world with all these brand new characters. I mean, if you really think about it, who's he created? He's created Clown Hunter, Ghostmaker, Designer, the Underbroker, Punchline. So it's just like James Tynion alone has created his own little pocket universe in the Batman mythos, if you really think about it. And his work speaks for itself. You see the numbers pick back up of sales from when Tom King left it. Um, I know a lot of people weren't super impressed with Tom King's run, as I wasn't impressed as well. But you see James Tynion kind of turn the character around and bring new excitement and reader buzz to a series that was seemingly going down in sales. And you got to hand it to the man. If, like I said, if you haven't signed up for his newsletter, um, you can see right here, I'm sharing my screen. This is part of his newsletter,
Hmm.
and it gets into a brand new first appearance in Batman 108, which he hints at that we were talking about earlier, which is Miracle Molly. Um, so yeah, in it he says, talking about Batman and Robin. Um, I got the new character machine cooking pretty much exactly 1 year ago, and now we're heading towards the infinite frontier, the launch of a whole new era of Gotham City. And did you really think for half a second we were going to rest our laurels? No, we're off to the races. In our very first issue, we have a new character with a partial appearance in 106. So if you're looking to, buy or speculate on books, 106, he says, clear as day, you're going to see a partial appearance, and 108 is going to be the first full appearance. So
And this is in the Batman storyline, right?
this is the Batman storyline. So looking down, he shows the what the character is actually going to look like.
Yeah, that
So
looks
that
cool.
is yeah. So obviously they're going towards what seems to me is more like of a cosplay kind of design. So I gotta imagine moving forward, you're gonna see, um, you know, con goers dressing up as designer. I'm not sorry, it's designer as Miracle Molly.
Hmm.
You see her design right here with their little cheetah running pants or whatever you want to call them with the arrows pointing down and the
Yeah.
running shoes. Obviously, she's fit, she's ready for action.
This issue is supposed to come out in March, right? I don't know if it's the beginning of March or if it's the middle of March, but I know it's supposed to be coming out in March.
Yeah, let me see. This issue is going to be coming out, I think. That it's gonna be when we leave future state and return to the normal um the normal ongoing series. It looks like March 2nd.
March
So
2nd, cool. Yeah, because I gotta I gotta go and get some requests and to keep those when I was hunting for that uh Red X cover, one of the shops I went to here in San Diego, the guy was telling me, yeah, if you just let us know like a couple weeks in advance what issues you want us to save for you, we can pull those aside for you once we get them in. So I think I'm gonna go this week and tell them, hey, I need issues 106 through 108 for Batman as soon as they come out.
Yeah, I mean, if you really, you have to order these books because what happens is if you don't order them, obviously there's already news on it, there's already hype on it. They're gonna sell out right away, and then what happens? You're stuck with a secondary market where you're letting all these flippers just take advantage of you, just and you're feeding into a market which is like so volatile at the moment. Just pre-order your copies and get secure
Mm-hmm.
yourself. If you're interested in Batman or the series, that's what I would recommend. Just secure yourself a copy. Don't be taken advantage of, and don't overpay for a brand new book. Just
Is there any
get your what's that?
in this newsletter? Is there any description of what Molly is and like
Yeah, so, um, I was gonna get into that right now. So this right here, this little paragraph, the
mhm.
Insanity Collective are a high-tech gang of thieves who use technology to erase and reset their memories so they can let go of all their fears and trauma holding themselves back. Miracle Molly builds all of their hardware. She's unlike any of the other characters I've written in and around Gotham, and I fucking love her. So, yeah, it looks like they're gonna be playing into the trope of Scarecrow because obviously, um, you know, her purpose. It looks like is she's gonna be building technology for a group of a gang where they're designing something where they can let go of all their fears and trauma. So obviously, you get into this. His next big run is going to be on Scarecrow, which is going to be one of the main villains in
Mhm.
his run, and that's kind of getting into the trope of his. And there you see Scarecrow right there with the sick design, man. Look at that design
I
by
know
George Jimenez.
with like the long anteater like gas mask. He's still got his long needle claws.
Yeah, the Freddy Krueger claws, man.
See, you know what? That's interesting because right, because the whole concept of this technology is to let go of fear. Besides Scarecrow, Batman also depends on fear in his enemies to be intimidated by him. That's gonna be really interesting to find out and see gangs who aren't afraid of the fear tactics from Scarecrow's toxins or just Batman's intimidation factor.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to, like I said, to see where he's gonna be taking this. And then here are gonna be so here's gonna be the covers for. I think this is gonna be 108. Yeah, so 40 page issues expected to retail at 4.99.
Hmm.
And there's gonna be a 1 in 25 cardstock variant. So what that means for every 25 issues, retailers allowed to order this one variant. Um, and it's actually gonna be May. Did I say May 2nd or May 4th
You said
when
May
I said the
2nd.
release?
I think you
Okay,
said.
so it looks like it'll be arriving May 4th. I don't know where I got May 2nd from.
Yeah, actually, I think I said March. I think I said I thought it was coming out in March, but it comes out in May.
Yeah. So this is gonna be cover A, the regular cover.
Hmm.
Obviously, you see Miracle, Molly on the cover, also featuring Ghostmaker
Ghostmaker,
backup story. Yeah,
nice.
so they're gonna be continuing Ghostmaker. Obviously, you see Meet Miracle Molly, and then this is gonna be the
The
1 in
very
25 variant right here. Look at that. Look at the
ooh,
eye.
yeah, the mechanical eye. That's what I was asking if they describe into more of her character because she's kind of got like this android feel from like where her hair comes up the top of the scalp. Kind of makes me think of like how like normal like androids usually have like different compartments or different builds into like their faces.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see, but it, obviously from the solicitations and the covers, certainly looks like it. And then you have down here cover B, which is an Arkham cover, which I think is probably my favorite cover.
Hmm.
Um, the group, you see the eye again
Yeah, now it's
right
pink
there.
though instead of blue and pink.
Yeah, and this one is going to be the 1 in 25 color cover. The black and white pencils
Hmm.
going to be the 1 in 25 cover. So if you're looking to invest, obviously this is going to be um, the best investment if you can find it for a reasonable price at or around, I would say 25 or less. But I, it's going to be hard to, I think, find it because there's already I said the news came out has come out of this first appearance, and obviously, if you're a Batman fan, you're going to be collecting this. So see,
Nice. I like
but
that. Miracle Molly.
yeah, so we have that to look forward to, and then we have another um first appearance in coming out in the Robin book, Robin #1, which is going to be a character named Flatline, I believe her name is. So Robin #1 is going to be written by Joshua Williamson, and he's already gone on a couple podcasts and kind of talked a little bit about the character as well as his new book coming out, Infinite Frontier, which is going to be. It looks like we're going to be getting a closer look as to what A Day actually is, and you see that referenced in the Nightwing book and the I think it's the Dark Detective book. I
Yeah.
think, yeah,
I think so. I don't remember A Day being in Dark Detective, but I was definitely in Nightwing for
the night.
sure.
Right. So Joshua Williamson is writing this new ongoing series. And like I said, he was on a couple of podcasts talking about it. And the original name for Flatline, he said, was going to be um I think it was Lord Death Girl is what he said, because it was supposed to be a sidekick to Lord Deathman.
Hmm.
So her original name was going to be Lord Death Girl is what he said. And you see, I guess with the design, when he's seen the design of the character, he changed the name because he's seen the little flat line in the background. But this should be interesting to see. Like I said, if you're also speculating, you're gonna want to pick up this book, and this is gonna be revolving around the League of Lazarus tournament. I think it is, which is kind of like he described it as a Mortal Kombat esque type of tournament. So that's going to be interesting to see, and a fresh new take on Damian Wayne.
Hmm.
And he says that it sounded like there was going to be a whole bunch of an array of new characters coming out in this book too, to give some material as far as new fighters and appearances in the book. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're getting a whole solo Damian Wayne line where it's going off on his own adventures, we're definitely be getting a ton of new characters because are we just gonna have a bunch of characters established from the Batman mythos bleeding over? No, Damian's gonna have his own villains. He's gonna have his own um support and help, and besides Flatline, I'm sure we'll see way more people down the line if it's received really well.
yeah, obviously they have to look at what the numbers do and how well the book sells, and obviously and he hints about that in the podcast. Obviously they look at all that stuff and continue decide whether they're going to continue the series and move forward with the storylines that they have planned. So obviously it's all a big unknown right now. We just know that there is solicitation for it. If it continues or not is totally up to us. So um it's cool to see new characters, and instead of writers pulling out characters that they use over villains that they use over and over again.
Hmm.
It's always exciting and new, especially if you're a new reader. You have something that you can, I guess, connect to with right away. Like it's
Right.
not like something you have to have a history of reading books all the way back to issue #1, 20 years ago. It's a brand new character, a brand new start. So it's always a good jumping on point.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like when we're like we have the villains that we are established with when we were kids, right? And then they become staples and they become the rogue gallery as we see today. But these kids now that are going to be seeing Flatline and Miracle Molly are going to be like their villains. And I think really what, in my opinion, what can solidify new villains into a generation is movie appearances, TV show appearances. I mean, before I really dove into like different characters, oh, there's Flatline right there. That's actually a pretty cool
Yeah.
design.
So, and James Tynion also talks about Flatline in his newsletter as well. So, like I said, going back to that newsletter, just sign up for it.
It's free to sign up. That's what I did.
Yeah. So, yeah, this was a design for Flatline. I guess, like I said, it was Lord uh, Death Girl, I think it was, and obviously he's seen the design, changed the name, and there you have it. That's how the character and character name are created.
I like that because
And you see, the,
Lord Deathgirl would be a mouthful to write and have to say every episode or every issue. Like, oh yeah, Lord Deathgirl, just flatline.
Yeah, and you kind of see a push towards diversity in books. I mean, you have Punchline, you have Miracle Molly now, you have Flatline, and James Tynion has said before that he wants to do, of course, depending on how well the character does and the story does, he wants to do a Flatline versus Punchline storyline. So if he actually does get his chance to do that, you better believe that Robin number one is going to be a sought after book right away. So
Oh yeah, definitely.
and there you have the character. There you have the character design right there. So if you're interested in seeing what she looks like, that is what she looks like. And getting back to the articles, this regarding Robin number one, Damian Wayne taking center stage during DC Comics Infinite Frontier era, starring in his own solo Robin series by Joshua Williamson and Gleb Onlikoff, which is the artist, launching this April with a two-part prologue by Williamson, running as backup stories in March's Batman 106 and Detective Comics 1034. Robin will see Damien discover secrets about his family's past, leading him to a martial arts tournament. So
We'll definitely get a lot more
that's
League
what
of
you have.
Shadows and a lot more Talia and Raish Al Ghul kind of story feeling, because I mean, you can't really go too much into like Batman's family history because we've seen that fleshed out so many times in different books and origins, but getting a perspective from being within the League of Shadows in the sense of like a family um element, it's going to be super interesting.
Yeah, so that's like I said, that's something I'm gonna be picking up. I'm gonna be reading, and obviously there's gonna be a 1 in 25 variant for this book as well. So, like I said, if you're specking on this book, the 1 in 25 is gonna be the go-to for your pick. Get ahead of this, order this one because I'm pretty sure it's gonna sell out. Don't, like I said, get taken advantage of on the secondary market. Just do yourself a favor. So.
For these 1 in 25 variant covers, do they let you pre-order these ones online also, or are the 1 in 25 variant covers, are those the ones that you have to actually go out and look for and find?
No, those will be up on like larger retailers their
Hmm.
website. Obviously they're already all over eBay, and then your store, your LCS, if they're big enough and they order that many copies, they're eligible to order the 1 in 25 variant. So you might get a better price at your LCS, but who really knows?
Yeah.
Unless you're a regular there, they'll probably hook you up. But if you're not, you'll probably get the eBay pricing, if
Oh
you will.
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that's I thought I wanted to talk about that for a second, and then obviously we have a um new series spinning out of Future State with Red Hood front and center, and this one is going to be Future State Gotham. I think DC wasn't expecting this big of a fan reaction for Future State. Like I said, it did a lot better than I think they were expecting. And you see that you see like the second printings come out with from all these books I think that we mentioned before with like the next Batman number 1 and 2, Dark Detective, Wonder Woman, Teen Titans, and a
Super
couple other books. And
Supergirl.
right, Superwoman, yeah. So um that's going to be spinning out of, looks like it's going to be a May 11th release date. And if you're interested at all, you can kind of read the is it the Dark Detective where you see Red Hood and Ravenger?
Say that one more time,
I
sorry.
think it is.
For the
It's I think it's Dark Detective where you see the Red Hood storyline, right?
Yeah,
Where the mask storyline.
it's Dark Detective issue number 2.
So if you're interested in this series at all, I think that's where they're going to be pulling from because it's the same writer, which is Joshua Williamson, that wrote that storyline. He's going to continue. It looks like at least for the first, I think 6 issues or 12 issues. I'm not sure. That storyline where you see, I mean, we've already seen where Red Hood seemingly turned against the Bat family, working with Ravenger, which is Slade Wilson's daughter, Rose Wilson,
Mhm.
Deathstroke's daughter. Um,
So I wonder if
and you
this
see,
I wonder if this Future State Gotham, sorry. I wonder if this Future State Gotham is going to take start right after the story in Dark Detective 2, or I wonder if it's going to go back and have him start turning on the Bat family, getting hooked up with the magistrate, and then getting into their into his like signature alive or dead team kind of combo name that we see in the story. So So I'm really interested to see how they're going to start it because spoilers, if you haven't read Doctor Chapter 2, we already talked about it, but there's a part at the end of the story is a bounty goes out for Red Hood while he was out doing a job. So they end the story in Doctor Chapter 2 with him now being a wanted fugitive to the magistrate where he was just working with. So I'm interested to see if they're gonna continue off of that point or if they're gonna start from like the beginning, have that be like the middle, and then have the outcome of him being hunted at the end of the series.
I'm not sure. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. But honestly, I didn't really like think that storyline was like super interesting. It
No.
did catch it. I thought it was good, but it wasn't super interesting to me. But maybe there's a lot more story that they have to tell that obviously DC and the editors and publisher think that it is worth publishing. So
Well,
it says
Red Hood's a super popular character. I mean, we're getting Red Hood in Titans season 3 whenever they start production. Red Hood's super popular amongst Bat fans and all that stuff. I personally, if for Future State Gotham, if I had to choose, I think Future State Gotham would have been a better title for the Arkham Knights because their whole drive is trying to save Gotham by showing like their showing the city that don't lose hope. I think they would have been a better centerpiece for Future State Gotham compared to like having Red Hood be the main muse for Future State Gotham.
right there. You see the cover right here. Looks like um for the Future State book for Gotham, and then you have the character design to the right of that. Yeah, I think that's something that we have to look forward to. And it says, rendered in the stark black and white tones, Future State Gotham will evoke the gritty noir aesthetic that reinforces Gotham City as a living, breathing part of any Bat family story.
Mm,
The hunt for the next Batman. So yeah, the first arc is going to be the Red Hood arc. It looks like this 6-issue debut story arc is co-written by Josh Williamson, Dennis Culver, with art by Giannis. I don't know how to say that name, so I won't destroy it.
mm,
Disaster strikes Gotham City, and all evidence points to Tim Fox, the next Batman. Jason Todd chooses justice over his family and allies when the magistrate enlists him to bring in the new Batman, dead or alive. So yeah, it looks like they will be continuing that dead or alive kind of a chemistry between the two, featuring the entire cast from the popular DC Future State Batman titles. Future State Gotham begins the next chapter in this inevitable world of tomorrow and does so with this dynamic, boyish format. So debut May 11th.
nice. And it's gonna have a variant stock cover. Wow, the stock cover is gonna be $3.99 for the book, and then $4.99 for variant covers, and then that's actually really cool, actually, because we now have seen Nightwing work with Tim Fox at the end of Nightwing 1. Now we're starting
Right.
to now we'll see another Bat family member have to interact with Tim Fox because Tim Fox is not associated with the Bat family at all, unless you can count his connection with his dad. But in the sense of like he's on his whole individual like team, he has his whole individual sources, and so it's gonna be kind of cool to see the Bat family interacting with this new Batman and seeing how they go with him toe to toe.
So something we again something we have to look forward to, um, and something that I'll be picking up and seeing where that story takes us.
Ooh,
And
I'm actually pretty stoked now to see that. I like the new design.
yeah, and then moving on, let me see if I can reload this article with the whole Gotham, the future state. Like I said, mentioned before, we get mention of 8A a couple times, and we don't know what that even means. It's just what they're calling it, and it seems like Bleeding Cool ran this article. What did the Joker do to Bane on 8A? So seemingly, it looks like we'll be getting that story played out, like I said, in Infinite Frontier number 0.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like it's going to be dealing with something that happened in Arkham Asylum, and something specifically the Joker did to Bane is what I'm getting from this article. Um, so we are going to see this long drawn out battle. It seems not. In Future State, we learned that something big happened at Arkham Asylum, dubbed A Day, that changed Gotham and brought the Magistrate. In his newsletter, again, James Tynion previously stated something big happens in the Batman-centric pages of Infinite Frontier that serves as the inciting incident for the entire Batman line. Another pillar of classic Gotham falls and sets all the pieces in motion in 2021 Gotham City is going to explode. And there you see the Joker right there. Nico understands that the events of A Day will begin to play out in Arkham Asylum and Infinite Frontier Zero as the Joker comes to town and sees to Bane while he is about it. Presumably will lead to the new Joker series as well. So
Hmm.
that's going to be super interesting to see exactly what brought Magistrate into Gotham City, because that's one of the pieces that we don't have to the puzzle yet.
Right.
And obviously you see Peacekeeper One becoming a big player in the Batman universe and the Gotham mythos. So
Are we going to be getting the Peacekeeper 1 origin in Future State? Or are we getting Peacekeeper 1's origin in Infinite Frontier?
I think it's gonna be in the Batman series. So let me see. I think James Tynion mentions Peacekeeper One. Um, I thought he mentioned him in his
I
newsletter.
thought he
Okay, right
did
here.
too.
So
Okay, yeah, you found it.
yeah, Scarecrow is a big bad of the story that we're telling in 2020. We were telling in 2020. We're also going to be establishing the origins of the Magistrate program and see the origin of Peacekeeper One in present day. Miracle Molly, Peacekeeper One, and the other mysterious characters are my crown jewel. New characters for 2021. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be exploring the Peacekeeper One's origins in the pages of Batman once James Tynion picks back up,
Hmm.
and obviously we're going to be getting other new characters um, in those pages as well. So
Nice, nice. I like that.
yep, and then for my last piece of news I wanted to talk about was the live action Powerpuff Girls More Naomi series lands pilot at the CW. So that was huge news. It doesn't mean she has a series coming, but a pilot does indicate you're gonna put the CW is gonna put time, the money, the effort, cast, and try and develop this character. It seems like with a pilot, a series is imminent, but yeah, obviously we have to wait and see how the pilot is received and how it does. If you haven't heard, we talked about Naomi in depth in
Issue
one of
number
our earlier
3.
issue number 3. If you want to listen to that, you can do that. But I thought it was important to know just some of the key issue. If you're looking to buy to spec on Naomi, I think issue number 1 is already out of the price range for a lot of people. It sold out right away. We've seen that, and obviously you have the first appearance of Naomi in issue number 1, and the first appearance of a character named D in issue number 1, which I think is going to play an important part in the show if they do develop that show. Um, we see the incident that all the townspeople are intrigued with, which is Superman fighting Mongol, which happens in the town. And it seems like that's the route that they're gonna go in this new the pilot. So let me see if I can find where they go into depth about this. Nomi was one of the first titles to launch under Bendis Wonder Comics imprint. We know that already.
The Naomi
And
series is also going to join up the DC project based on DC comic properties such as Painkiller, a spin-off of Black Lightning, which is set to conclude with its 4th season, and Wonder Girl, the publisher's first post-Future State comic series. Ooh. So we're going to be getting a
yeah,
ton of other content besides just Naomi, even though Naomi's probably the one I would suggest looking the most forward to because she's like a, whole new character.
yeah. And I think the Wonder Girl, the series that they were kind of announced, that has been put to the back burner, is what I think is what I understand. They're not going to continue development with Wonder Girl, but Naomi, however, is getting her own pilot. It seems like maybe they had to choose between the series since they're coming out with so much right now. But like I said, the issue number 1 is going to be the key issue because obviously that's the first appearance. Issue number 2, you're introduced to Greg and Jen, which is her parents. Issue number 3, I think, um, we learn Dee's origin. So it's an origin story for Dee. We're taking the spaceship to a spaceship, which is revealed to be her father, Greg, is what he arrived in on Earth. And then issue number 4, I think, is we learn Greg's origin, where he came from. I think it was Ran, a planet called Ran, and we learn how Naomi ended up on Earth. And I think issue number 5, you can still, like I said, you can still find that out there. And I think this is gonna be kind of a sleeper issue uh, if you're um, if you're specking on Naomi, because I think you can still, like I said, still find it out there, and it's incredibly important to the Naomi storyline because it's the first time you see her in costume. You learn the backstory of how her uh, how her people were granted the powers, and you see actually her first big bad villain, which is Zumbadu, I think is how you say it in
Mm-hmm.
this issue. So I think issue number 5 is going to be incredibly important. And like I said, you can still find it out there in the wild and online. So um, and then there's other key characters where you see all the people that were gifted powers, and you see some of them still out there that we don't know where they went. So I think that's something that they can pull from the series. So that's why I said I think that's why it's getting back to it's important. And then issue 6, you're introduced to her Aunt Akira, um, and learn of her powers. So yeah,
So it's gonna be
Naomi.
it's gonna be interesting seeing how the series is gonna play out, especially because it's gonna be. Is it a CW series or is it an HBO Max series?
It's a CW series, which I would rather see an HBO Max series because, in my opinion, the CW series are a little bit on the cheesier side. I think I've said
Yeah,
that before.
like they're
Which I mean, I like the Flash, but other than that, they're a little bit cheesy for me.
well, because CW shows are more are driven for television, right? Where streaming content, I think streaming content gets a different standard, a different cinematography style, writing style, because you're allowed to be a little bit more firm with certain topics because it's kind of consented because you have a streaming service. I think it'd be good to see her on HBO Max over CW.
Yeah, so I would too because I like they're a little yeah, like I said, they're a little bit able to do a little bit more and able to tell a little bit of a darker storyline, if you will, but and see more blood and guts. But like I said,
Mm-hmm.
CW is aimed more towards a different audience and crowd. So we'll see. We'll have to wait and see how that does. And right there, you see her in her armor, which you first see in issue number 5. Issue number 5.
As Marcus keeps reiterating, he's like hinting, anyone who's listening, issue number 5.
Yeah, issue 5. Get up if you can while you can.
Order it
So,
right now.
so I think that's all the news that I had to cover. If you wanted, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. If you wanted to go into any news or um, talk about the future state issues, I'll leave this
Yeah.
one up to you.
Yeah, we can definitely get into some we can quickly cover just a little bit over Dark Knight, or sorry, not Dark Knight, sorry, Dark Detective issue number 3. And the reason why I wanted to bring up this issue is because I think it shows some importance on definitely kind of more bringing to the aspect of like how the point of Gotham is getting to with the magistrate. I also personally really like this issue because we get our first interaction with what am I talking about? Bruce Wayne and Tim Fox finally meeting within the first couple pages. Overall, I thought the book was super good. Again, it's with this short story because they had to do a bonus story with Grifter, which that was a it was a good story, but it was more for fun. It definitely had its comical. It was really well written. But if you're reading Dark Detective just to see first appearance or first interaction with Bruce and Tim, it was very short. It was kind of cool because you see them face to face. I don't think Tim knows that Bruce is Batman, but
Yeah,
Bruce
you see that in the book. He doesn't know, because what is he's like trying to give him like advice, like
take the night off, and Bruce says, "I invented that
no,
line."
he says, what do you say? No, stay home tomorrow night.
Oh, that's what it was.
And then you see Bruce say, "Yeah, I pretty much invented that invented that line." It's Jace Fox, so
Yeah,
you
and
know,
it's just It's
Yeah, you dive into to Bruce kind of trying to figure out. He's following the money, if you will, trying to figure out where the magistrate, who's really running the magistrate, and dig into the technology and the companies that are providing technology for the magistrate. So you open up with the murder of what's his name, Carl Bennington, the CEO of Plexitech.
mhm.
You open up with that, and then later on in the issue, Bruce comes to find out that this was a hit orchestrated by the magistrate in order to protect something or to keep the stronghold over Gotham, is what Bruce is alluding to. And the way he does that is he's able to catch a drone. You see him in the book where he's netting. I think he's like fishing, or what does he call it? Fly fishing, where he has like
Yeah, he basically made a thing about how the Wayne family is like an old sport that they loved was fly fishing, and so he has like this looks like a digital net that he's doing to capture, and then he's slowly capturing them, and he's slowly detonating them by hand until he's able to detonate them without them exploding. And so it's him basically researching the tech and trying to figure out like how it's functioning, and basically because he's upgraded his cowl, so now he can see using like a digital I forgot exactly what it's called that he's using, but basically his cowl can now see these nano drones because they're camo, they're transparent, so you can't see them.
Yeah, they're cloaked. So he has like these digital goggles that he can see, he can look up and see all of these cloaked drones, and he calls it, what he's using to fish is the electro netting, which he uses to catch them. And obviously, when you see him catching them, you see him kind of, once they caught, some of them explode. He's able to get one before it detonates, and at that point, the magistrate are made aware, because I think it has something on the tech where it says, it alerts other drones that it's been tampered with. So obviously, you see all the drones like coming to him, which point he escapes, and then that's where he runs into Jace, which is the next Batman, um, Fox. So you get that whole storyline playing out. You get the first introduction where the meeting of the two Batmen,
Mm-hmm.
the
And
future
Bruce
Batman and Bruce Wayne, the old hag, I guess.
Bruce
So
says the best
he's able.
best best line, "Who the hell are you?" And Jace goes, "You know who I am."
Yeah, so you see Bruce able to hack into those drones, and that's where he actually learns that he sees the footage of um, the magistrates actually um, going on with killing Carl Bennington. And at the end of the book, you see Bruce Wayne kind of curious as to why these drones are following Noah's daughter, which is his roommate. And you see um, what's her name? I can't remember her name.
Noah's
Daughter
daughter's name?
is Hannah. I think it's
Yeah,
Hannah.
yeah.
Yeah, you see her leaving the house, getting into like a cab, and then Bruce Wayne follows him because he's curious why these drones are following her, and he's led to the magistrate headquarters, where you see his daughter drive take a taxi into the magistrate headquarters, and then on his way back, like, oh shit, we led them right to us. And he looks up and he sees just a bunch of drones just hovering over him. And
Well,
at that point, it's just kind of certainly implying the impending arrival of the magistrate forces.
so there's a lot of like foreshadowing happening in the early issues. One thing I noticed after this issue is at the beginning of the issue, Noah is always complaining about the aliens, technology, government. Right? They're watching us. I don't want this. I don't want this TV. The beginning of Dark Knight or Dark Detective 3, he's complaining that he's hearing this noise, this whistling noise. So he needs to take down the little antenna off the top of it and all this stuff. And Hannah gets mad at Bruce Wayne because she's like, "Hey, you're encouraging my father and you're encouraging his unhealthy habits. Quit it, stop being lazy." And so Noah keeps complaining about hearing this stuff. And then that's when at the end of the issue, he found out that the reason why Noah's complaining, he says, no, what Noah heard is the sound of 1,000 eyes in the skies watching. So Noah is literally hearing these little drones flying around him, and he thinks it's aliens. So it's like every time Noah complains about hearing or seeing something, it always leads to something with the magistrate. So I think it's kind of funny how they do foreshadowing with that. But I mean, you also see Bruce Wayne saying like, "Oh my God, that's how they found out I was Batman because they're around all the time." And he literally said,
Yeah.
"Watching me, did I walk? Did I just walk into danger? Did I step into a trap? Either way." And then and then he starts breaking everything. He goes, "No one can hide. They know everything. They know where I am. They're coming." And you can kind of see Bruce slowly starting to kind of go into panic mode and go kind of crazy himself because they are literally everywhere.
Yeah, and it's I think they have one more issue to conclude the storyline. I'm not sure how many more issues they have, but
Maybe four.
we'll obviously see at least one more. What's that?
I think it's four. I think this is supposed to be a 4 issue run because next Batman is 4 issues, and I think so is Dark Detective.
Yeah, so obviously we'll see, have at least one more issue to see and play out. And if you like the Dark Detective storyline, the same creative team is actually going to be on Detective Comics. So you have Mariko Tamaki, I think, is a writer, and Dan Mora on art. If you really like the storyline, that same creative team is gonna keep on with the Batman title in Detective Comics. So, if you see this end and you really like this one, like I said, I love this one so far. And I would probably pick up Detective Comics no matter what because I'm a Batman fan, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that creative team will continue on with Batman story.
Yeah, that was actually
Not this one in particular, but a new one.
yeah. This comic is the first thing I picked up when I was hunting last week was Dark Detective issue 3, and then the variant copy of 3 where it shows the different cowls of Bruce and Tim.
Right. So
Also,
I think out of this,
Jace
but
just looks so much bigger than Bruce Wayne too. I'm like re-looking through the pages right now, and when they're standing kind of side by side, Bruce or Jace looks so much bulkier than Bruce does, and it's probably because of the suit. But wow.
and you have to remember that Bruce is a little bit older now. He's been murdered apparently, but been through hell and back, and Jace is the brand new young bull, if you would say so. I think the artwork is meant to imply that as far as stature and build. Um, but it's going to be interesting to see where this how this ends, and they will choose to continue this storyline with obviously once we catch up to future state, because like I said, is there these stories are happening at different points in the future in DC timeline. So hopefully they'll explore this once they catch up if they do decide to continue the storyline. And we'll see where it goes. But I think I'm most interested to see Tynion on his Batman run and Peacekeeper One, where he really comes from.
Yeah, I'm super excited for between May between May and July. There's gonna be a lot of good books coming out, and I'm super excited to see a lot of new stories and new characters.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of holes burnt in some short pockets. So definitely, especially if you like this and um picking up Batman, because there's a lot of bat centric books that are coming out, like the Joker and Robin and Detective and Batman comics. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you made it this far, which I love saying, if you made it this far, make sure you hit up all our socials.
all two of you.
Yeah, or on YouTube, we're Beyond the Cowl, Twitter Beyond Cowl, and Instagram Beyond the Cowl as well. Make sure to also like, share, and subscribe. Let us know what you thought of this episode. Let us know if you agree or disagree with any of our comments or reviews of these comic book news, these comic book issues.
And exactly, if like I said, all two of you made it this far, stay safe and hopefully give us, like I said, some feedback and let us. We really, really want to know what you want to hear and what direction, because that really dictates what direction we want to take the podcast. Obviously, we want to cater to those people that the two of you that are listening to here at the end. So yeah, stay safe, everybody.
Stay safe.